Now, I want to take this a little bit to where my main audience are. That is in Africa. Okay, see, these things happen everywhere. Okay, and especially in Africa because of the difficulty with healthcare. Okay, so we have more challenges around this. So, what are some of the unique challenges African couples are dealing with uh, in terms of infertility, miscarriages, and baby loss? Okay, especially in the cultural context of our society.
Okay. So I mean, even though you might not be in Africa, but if you're still
Mm,
African,
yes.
and you live anywhere in the world, some of these issues are still kind of prevalent. So we may not be physically in Nigeria, but for Africans in diaspora, Nigerians in diaspora, some of these issues still kind of translate across borders.
Mm,
So it still relates to those of us that are still here because some of those issues, I mean, yes, apart from the healthcare, I mean, and the interesting thing is that you know, for Black women and Black families, we face a lot of disparity when it
mm.
comes to healthcare access, even here in the developed world.
Okay.
So even though we're in a developed world, we're still at a greater disadvantage compared to other women from other backgrounds. So that's a whole different topic in itself.
Okay.
But going back to Africa, of course, the challenges are unique. We can't, compare the healthcare facility
Yeah.
in some African countries to other developed worlds. So I guess for those for couples in Africa, one of the biggest challenge is just about even around traditional beliefs when it comes to
Yes.
things like infertility
Mm.
and miscarriage and baby loss. So sometimes these things are attached to there's spiritual connotations in some cultures that maybe, you've done something wrong or someone is after you or,
Yeah.
someone hates you. So there's all that line of thinking, in terms of spiritual connotations, or they might say, there's generational curses or it's
Mm.
happening from one lineage to another. So maybe I've heard people say, oh, women in this family don't have children. So maybe when someone else gets to that stage, you'll say that's the reason why, because other women struggle to have children. So that's maybe the reason why it's happening to you. And there's a lot of stigma and shame, when it comes to things like this. Unfortunately, also, we live in a culture where, the woman, a value is placed on a woman if she can only give birth to children.
Mm.
Unfortunately. So if she can't, she's classified as a second class citizen, even in our own homes. I've heard of, families where husband will bring in another woman because his first wife can't give him children. And then she's relegated to a spare bedroom while someone else comes into the family. So unfortunately, these things break homes, they break relationships. And the question we need to ask ourselves is marriage just for procreation and childbearing? Is that the only
Mm.
reason?
Mm. Mm.
Because when people go into marriage with this expectation, then you know that if they do face this hurdle or challenge, then that marriage will not stand
Yeah.
because they believe that's the sole reason for marriage. Or for some, or in some cultures where, you know, the woman, gives birth to only girls, they believe that, oh, well, they want a male child. And
I
then
have
for
three
some,
daughters.
absolutely. For some men, they might have to go out to get a male child, or they keep pushing the boundaries for the women to have more and more and more children. And unfortunately, some women end up dying in childbirth because medically speaking, their bodies are not able to cope with
Yeah.
that number of children. So we need to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of marriage? Is it just to have a male child? Is it just to have children? And when these things happen, then we know the reason why this make people make decisions because they
Yeah.
haven't had these conversations. Also, there's family pressure. Even if a couple are happy or content, to kind of walk through this journey, however long it takes. Sometimes it's family pressure. There's friends, there's peer pressure as well. Oh, time is going. What are you doing? Why don't you have any children? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And one of the things that I think that I'm very concerned. When people are waiting for children, because there's a lot of pressure, personal and external, internal and external.
Yeah.
People sometimes go to all kinds of places. They try all kinds of things because they are desperate, which is understandable. But sometimes some of the things they dabble into actually adds, well, actually doesn't solve the problem, but
Yeah.
brings
Can
on greater problems.
cause more harm. Yeah.
Absolutely, cause more harm physically, mentally, emotionally. People are being taken advantage of. People are being told things are not true. And people are being told people are after you, and then they start breaking up relationships because they think, oh, this person is the cause of your misfortune. And then people that are there that truly love them and care about them, sometimes they break relationships with those
Yeah.
people. So sometimes, some of those are some of the complexities that we face in an African culture and an African context. And this kind of they add more complexities even to the issue of infertility or miscarriage or baby loss.
Yeah.